Good morning. I hope that this finds you well and in good spirits. Today is Sunday, March 22nd, 2026, and it is a beautiful day here in Greensboro, North Carolina. I feel the spring vibes growing. So let's begin as we usually do by just tuning in and allowing ourselves to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth and in through our nose and out through our mouth. And as we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, we invite our mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe, so we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good, and the highest and best good of all involved, as we open up space to give and receive. And today I'm going to read from How to Focus by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's page 59, Consciousness. If we have not been able to transform the painful events of our past, then they are still buried in our consciousness. When we allow painful images from our past to come up, it's like we are eating our own consciousness. And the more we think, the more angry and upset we become. We chew our suffering and despair like cows chew their cud. We ruminate on our suffering and we suffer all over again. But in our consciousness, there are also the seeds of enlightenment. Our consciousness has as many channels as television. Why don't we push the button of compassion and understanding and change the channel? We consume our own individual consciousness and we consume the collective consciousness. In both, we are nourishing foods and toxic foods. We should be aware that when we spend time close to a community that has a great deal of hatred and despair, these energies will penetrate into us. We need to find a collective environment that is nourishing, where the people are motivated by compassion and helping others. Yes. And we know the importance of community has continued to grow and grow as we try and continue to mend the splits in community. We want to make sure that we connect to a community that feeds us and that we feed, while also not isolating ourselves in a bubble, which is tricky sometimes. So, what's an important key to that? What I wanted to talk about today was a little bit of the root of self trust and how we tune into connecting with self trust in a way that is uplifting and positive for us. And so, I'm always one who's going to tell you to go back to the 3 5s meditation on that. And I thought we could revisit that a little bit today and talk about the who, what, when, where, and why of the 3 5s. And then we'll go through it together. And this will be a little bit more updated and connective talk about the 3 5s that probably for the rest of my life, I will continually ask you to revisit because I revisit it myself. I do this meditation for the whole 21-day span at least once a year for the full cycle of it, 3 times a day, 5 minutes a day, 21 days to create that reset in my system. And then I also revisit the 3 5s whenever I'm feeling a little off, or if I feel my center starting to shift, or my feeling of being grounded, having to constantly do maintenance there, I come back to the 3 5s. And let's talk about why it works. So the base of the 3 5s, the foundation of it is an awareness check-in with 6 parts of ourselves. And why do we want to be aware? Why do we want to check in? Well, there's a couple really important things. One of the messages we started working on last year was, if we trust ourselves, we technically don't have to trust others. And it doesn't mean we mistrust others, but what it means is that we can tune into a sense of knowing within ourselves that allows us to connect in a space that is positive and uplifting. And so tuning in, we can say, okay, I am feeling this feeling, having this intuition, sensing this energy, whatever it is. And instead of it confusing me, instead of it creating chatter in the already existing overly loud world, it calls me inward and creates a sense of peace. It brings me to my center like that, in a way that allows me to know, trust, see, sense, and feel exactly what I'm feeling without the confusion, without the blurry lines, without the disconnect or the doubt of self. And by building trust, then we can allow ourselves to stay in our center easier. It's not going to mean that you don't get off. We are humans. We are having a human experience on a very human planet. So realizing that that's going to happen. We're going to get pulled and distracted and put in different directions. But what we're looking for is a fast recovery time. We're looking for the center to be that space that we live from, even if we are called in distraction in other little ways. So we know in relationships and in spaces with other people, trust is important. We know that trust is not just immediately given. When it is, then we're giving something and asking someone to maintain it that we haven't taught them the maintenance plan for. So healthy trust, true trust, is built. It's built through paying attention and listening and creating a healthy sense of compassion and understanding. It's built through boundaries. It's built through time and knowingness. And it is that build, little by little, the bird builds its nest into a space of trust. And the same thing is true with ourselves. Oftentimes, we work on mistrust or proving against mistrust or fixing mistrust. And so this 3 5s meditation is a self-trust building check-in that allows you to look at the whole self when it comes to trust. So what we'll do is we will do a check-in for the physical, the emotional, the thought patterns, the energy, the intuitions, and other energies. And so through doing that, then we'll be able to discern between intuition and emotion, or thoughts and other people's energies, or the physical sensations in the body that are cueing an intuitive ping versus the ones that are working from our ego or fear. And through that, getting to know ourselves in those different parts, then we build that trust. We create that sense of center within the self. And then we can start expanding our intuitions because they have a firm, sturdy foundation to build from. We can understand that emotions and thoughts happen, but what we do with them, we are empowered with. We can tune into other energies like the empath and not be afraid that those energies are going to take us over or control us, because we are in an empowered place to be able to decide how we interact with those other energies. And all of that comes through consistent, persistent work, checking in, bringing awareness, and recognizing that you're building trust in all of those areas. So, some of the things I wanted to bring up that is important when it comes to this is the 3 5s meditation has some really great, powerful, and I don't use that word lightly, um, things that create or in the foundation of it that create that sense of trust. It allows for you to build body based trust through the physical check in. It allows you to bring awareness of your thoughts versus the self. And Brene Brown would say, the difference between guilt and shame is guilt is I did a bad thing, and shame is I am a bad person. And so that's a little example of how the awarenesses come in. It allows for you to tune into emotional regulation because you're aware of how you're feeling during neutral times as well as high emotional times. And you can recognize that we're not only paying attention to our emotions when they're acting out, so to say. It allows for nervous system regulation because by doing those check ins and finding out where your neutral positive is, then you know what place to go home to regulate versus chasing those things or feeling like you're unaware of what's happening to you through triggers or through the feeling of being overwhelmed or out of control. When we have that center to come home to, we have a safe place to rest. It allows intuitive decision making to happen with more accuracy because we're not going through the labyrinth of, is this real or is this my monkey mind? Is this truly an intuition or is this what I want to happen? The ego is telling me. We don't have to navigate that as much if we already have a good relationship with each one of our intuitions. It allows us to have a focused center when it comes to each part of the self, because even brief, repeated mindful practices allow increase in attention span and cognitive flexibility, strengthening your ability to stay present and aware when it comes to these certain spaces. And then it allows for you to build a habit that opens up neural pathways as well as energy pathways in a way like working out your muscles creates a better sense. So the intuition grows, the sense of, empowerment and empathy grows because you're using those things and working them like intuitive muscles or empathetic muscles. And it allows for all of the systems to come together in a way that is a whole body self. So oftentimes, especially with empaths or people who are working on their intuitions, they get stuck in the or. I'm either this mundane being who's paying my electric bill, or I'm this spiritual, guru on the mountain. And technically, we are both always. And so, like, recognizing that when we check in this way, and the way that I'm about to teach you, then it allows for the synergy between all parts of the self to come together in a really healthy way. This is something that I teach at the base of every course that I teach. And the reason for that is it is a strong foundation to stand on. And I've said it 15 times since we've started, but I really mean it. And so giving yourself permission to try the practice to your highest and best ability is important. I recommend that you do it in the morning. It can be you wake up in your first 5 minutes of the day, you do this. So before you even get out of bed, or whenever. I'm just giving suggestions. And then in the afternoon, so in the morning when you do it, you're your most, if you do it before you start your to-do list, before you get into the busies of the day, then you're in the closest place basically, to the subconscious. You just woke up from dreaming. You just came out of a, like non-thinking state. And so you check in at that point. And then in the afternoon, we check in during neutral times. And that means good days and bad. We pick a time and we say, when I finish lunch, I'm going to do a 5-minute check-in. Or, at 2 o'clock, I'm going to do a 5-minute check-in. And it doesn't matter whether you are, having the busiest day of your life or your most relaxed day. What we're trying to build is this foundation, no matter what, whether I am in it or resting from it, we want that same space. So sometime in the afternoon, you want it to be a little bit consistent. You don't have to be hard on yourself. You're perfect just like you are. So if it's 2 o'clock today and 3 o'clock tomorrow, as long as it's in a range of that afternoon time, then that's important. And then evening. And evening, usually we have the reflections of the day, like we're thinking about what comes tomorrow. There's like this kind of, setting back into ourselves that happen in the evening oftentimes. And so recommending it in the evening is important, trying to tune into that, because then it brings us to that space of like, okay, what is my wind down mind like? What is my reflection mind like? And so we tune in the evening. Now, if you've been paying attention, this year I'm on an energy hygiene kick. And I know that it sounds hard to take 3 5-minute breaks to just pay attention to yourself. I know it sounds hard because I've been teaching this for 15, 20 years now, maybe. And every time I take it through a live class, then there's always a lot of discord, and people try to get disappointed in themselves or judge themselves. And really, I don't want this to be something that becomes a chore to you. But I do want to remind you, just like brushing your teeth every morning, tuning in to yourself and giving yourself time and attention should be part of your energy hygiene. And that's the first thing that goes. If I don't have time for something, I don't have time for me. And recognizing that that's the fuel that keeps your energy flowing. It is the thing that creates upliftingness in your life. It is your nutrient and your food source for your soul when we do our energy hygiene. And so, just like brushing our teeth, it should be a non-negotiable. If I don't take this 5 minutes in the morning, and technically it doesn't have to be the 3 5s, but that's what we're talking about. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do, is recognizing like there should be a practice of energy hygiene that happens every day. Just like brushing our teeth, it's non-negotiable. We don't consider, do I have enough time for that? Or should I do it? Or, oh, I'm running late, I can't do that. We will fit it in. And so that's what I'm asking you to do with this. And the reason why we do it for 21 days, 3 times a day, 21 days, is because that 21-day period creates a habit. So on day 22, what will happen is, instead of waking up and consciously thinking, checking with my mind, checking with my emotions, checking with my body, you just do it. It will be innate. It will be something where 3 times a day, your energy, your body just comes back to that center, because that's the habit that you've created. That's what you've focused on. So that's why this is important. I really, truly believe that this is a life-changing practice. Spirit brought it to me, like I said, 15, 20 years ago. I can't even remember now, but I've been teaching it for a really long time. And I really, really believe in it. The people who have done it and created a habit out of it can attest to how much this has changed their life to have this resource. And that's why I give it freely. And I try and make sure that people get the full description, because I've seen it other places taught where they didn't quite get what I was trying to put forward, and it shifted or changed somewhat. So, that's why we revisit this at least once a year in Love Church. And so this is going to be your reminder and your video to be able to tune in. So That being said, we're going to begin, and I'm going to begin from the very beginning, the winding down, bringing ourselves to center, relaxing ourselves into it. And we're just going to walk through this together. And then you can come back to this point in the video and watch it as you connect. I suggest writing down, what you are aware of. The thing that I will remind you before we step into this, we are not moving into, remember, I teach awareness, acceptance, action. We are not moving into action when it comes to this. We can tune into acceptance. I understand this is how I feel right now. Um, but we're not trying to fix, change, control, move, maneuver, manipulate anything that we sense. We are literally just paying attention. So, you can think of that like a friendship building trust. If, if your friend starts telling you a story and you start telling them what they should do about it, that isn't necessarily building trust because we didn't listen fully and bear witness and then ask if they might want advice. As I do with my friends, I'll say, do you want me to just listen? Do you want me to give my advice, or do you want me to bitch with you? And so, recognizing in this moment with ourselves and the trust that we're building, we are only listening, we're bearing witness, or we're just bringing awareness to these parts of ourselves. And then once you make the habit, if you want to go back in and pay attention to what you noticed and make some actions, shifts and changes, then you can go ahead. But this is a trust building, awareness focused exercise. All right, are you ready? So let's begin. And just begin by breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, invite your mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Breathing in, I call in anything I may need. Breathing out, I release anything that is not mine and does not serve me. And as we breathe in and out, we invite our feet to relax and our ankles to relax, our knees to relax, and our thighs to relax, our hips to relax, and our stomach to relax, our hands to relax, and our elbows to relax, chest to relax, and our shoulders to relax, throat to relax, and our face to relax, and our mind, body, and energy. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe, so we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good, and the highest and best good of all involved, as we open up space to heal and harmonize. And as we move into this space of relaxation, We tune into our physical self, just bringing awareness to the physical body, allowing yourself to tune in, check in, connect, sensing into the physical body. You can bring awareness, what feels good, what might feel tight, where there might be a calling. And as we said, we're not trying to fix it or tell the story of why this hurts or that feels tight. We just want to give permission to acknowledge it, to bring awareness, to let your body know that you're paying attention. And then we take a breath in our nose and out our mouth and bring awareness to our thoughts and tune into the thoughts like bubbles, just paying attention to what may rise and allowing them to go into tiny thought bubbles, rising up and popping. We don't have to latch on to ownership of the thought or shame ourselves for having it. We just recognize that thoughts happen and what we do with them is up to us. The first thought happens. The second, we are empowered to choose what to do with it. And as we allow the thoughts with awareness to just rise like bubbles, popping away, we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, allowing us to shift towards our emotions. How do you feel right now? What's rising up? Bringing awareness to the emotional body, recognizing whether there's intensity or openness, a feeling of stagnation, or even confusion. You don't know how you feel right now. It's okay to rest in that space of awareness, just letting the emotional body know that you're listening, that you're here, that you're aware and paying attention. And then breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth as we tune into our energy body. Just in case you aren't aware of your chakras, we check in with our red root, our sense of safety, grounding, security, our orange sacral, fun, frivolity, play, sensuality, sexuality, and self-trust. Our yellow solar plexus, willpower, empowerment, emotional communication, strength. Our green heart, love, compassion, understanding, forgiveness. Blue throat, feeling seen and being seen, feeling heard and being heard. Violet crown, insight, understanding, and knowledge, seeing the whole picture. Sorry, that's your indigo third eye. And then violet crown, feeling whole and being whole, tuning in with a wholeness. And then the translucent seat of the soul, connectivity with all beings and all things. And as we just check in and see where our awareness is there one part of our energy that feels hotter, colder, stronger, faster, slower? And just bring awareness to those spaces. And then we tune into the intuitions. The intuitions speak in 3 or more ways. And the first one is the first 3 chakras, which is our carnal intuition. The carnal intuition gets its information from the physical body. and its intuition is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Then we move up third to fifth chakras, and we tune into our sense of knowing. That's our true self. Our true self gets its information from our emotional body. And that sense of knowing, like gut intuition or women's intuition, is often called. Just check in with it. And then tune in to the higher self, fifth chakra through the seat of the soul. This is our high self. And the intuition is prophecy. And we can check in. Sometimes this is deja vu or dreams, and other times it's seeing into the future. It gets its information from the energy body. And just see with awareness if any intuitions come forward. We can take them later and work with them if we need to, but right now we're just listening, just building trust. And then from there, we go into other energies. We take a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth, and allow ourselves to tune into other energies. And this could be the other beings in the room or the house, the neighborhood. This could be the collective source energy of humanity and living beings. It could be ancestors or higher vibrational beings or God. And we're just aware that those energies exist around us. We're not trying to keep them at bay or pull them in. We are observing, not absorbing, just paying attention to those other vibrations. And then we take another big, deep breath, releasing it out. And that allows us to tune in to ourself as whole, our physical, our thoughts, our emotional, our energy, our intuitions, and our sense of empathy. Just bringing awareness in those spaces, giving ourselves a moment. Then we take 9 breaths in through our nose and out through our mouth, and in through our nose and out through our mouth. And as you continue to breathe in and out, each breath bringing you closer to this space and place, back to an integrated sense of self, mind, body, and energy as one, making your way through those breaths, calling in anything else you may need, releasing out anything that is not yours and does not serve you. And as you breathe in and out, accepting and acknowledging the awareness, tuning into the sense of self-trust in a greater way. When you're fully ready and you come back through your 9 breaths, you can rub your hands together and put them over your eyes, wiggle your toes, and come back to this present moment, whole, healed, connected, and aware. And with that, you allow yourself to tune in, giving yourself this permission to do this work. I will say, if you only get to it 1 time a day, you will be better off than doing it none. It's better to experience it as you can experience it without judgment than to feel as if you're doing it right or wrong, or feel like if you don't have 3 times a day worth, then you might as well not do it. And it'll be tough because we're not taught to pay attention to ourselves. We're taught to be distracted. We're taught to be out in the doing self instead of in the being self. And so this helps with that and will help build those techniques of self-trust, amplified intuition, and feeling empowered in the empath. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments how it felt to you and how successful and amazing that you're doing when it comes to tuning in and paying attention to yourself in a way that you are deserving of. I hope that you are all well and in good spirits, and that you feel whole, and that you are blessed, and that you always be your soul.